Good morning, everybody. Happy Halloween. It is a cold day in Spring Hill. It's like 50 degrees. That's like the end of the world to the people down here. Beautiful day, nice, brisk. Reminds me of Halloween on Long Island. We used to, with the kids, walking through the leaves. It's been a very busy week. Probably since I've talked last, there's just been tremendous amounts of scrap gold coming in. 999 is king. Everything 999 sells. In between, I'm selling some 90%, but mostly anything 999. Silver Eagles, I have none. 999, I have none right now. But as I said, we're not bullion dealers. We get it as it comes in, but we have those rare coins that you may need. We'll start. My ideas now, the holidays are coming, whichever ones you observe, or nice gifts. But I'm going to first go over a few articles that I pulled out of the paper. You've heard about the steel pennies and how they needed the copper, and in '43 they made steel pennies. This is talking about how they used the casings and how they built battleships, and they used it for bullets and everything else, the copper. But in 44, 45, 46, they picked up all the scrap casings they could find, and they made the pennies for those years out of them, just recycling things over and over. Over 1 billion steel pennies were made. And I'd heard a story about where they had taken because they weren't very popular. I've seen a lot that are reconditioned. We have rolls of reconditioned ones, where they had taken a lot of the ones with problems. They loaded them on a barge, and from what I've read and heard in the past, they took this ship out into the Atlantic Ocean, and they opened the bottom in, I don't know, 500 million steel pennies. Don't let the tree huggers find out, but they did that probably 70 years ago. And, a year or so with everything that's in the water and the salt, I'm sure of all that just turned to dirt and rust or whatever. But they dumped a whole bunch. But that's an article about how they repurposed the pennies. 120 field artillery, 120 howitzers. They built battleships. They made everything out of it. This is an article about the Morgan and peace dollars. There are 93 varieties of Morgans between mint marks and solid dates, and only 24 varieties of peace dollars. They made somewhere around 1 billion of them. I don't know. I think they made more than that, because I've probably seen 1 million myself in the last 50 years. I mean, we sell them hundreds at a time. And virtually every collection I ever buy has between 1 and 100 Morgan dollars. There's always Morgan dollars. I can't tell you how many I've handled and seen. A very popular series, the Pittman Act in 1918, melted about, give or take, 300 million of them, combined with the fact that, from what I understand, and I read somewhere, Germany had to pay reparations when the war ended. The United States got silver. So we got battleships full of silver, and that silver, along with the Pittman, they started making the peace dollars. The 22, 23 peace dollars, many of them made. It's just a quick article about them. The color like this, they sell very quickly when they have that beautiful tricolor. You don't see those on peace dollars. It's mostly the Morgans. Here's a revising history. When I do the Great American Teaching, I tell the kids that the coins have been around. Lydia in northern Turkey, first coinage. They used a combination gold, silver, then gold, then silver. 7th century, now they pushed it back to the 8th century BC. So you're talking, 2,800 more, years of coinage, silver and gold. And that's where the first coin was coming out of, Lydia in Turkey. I've talked in the past about when they confiscated or when they asked patriotic citizens to turn in their gold coins back in 1933. Here's an article a patriotic citizen, turning in $35,000 face value in gold. $35,000. That's an incredible amount of money at that time. That's when an average person lucky to make, if he had a job, he was making $500 a year, $10 a week. This guy had $35,000.
Now here's a question you get sometimes when people do ask, do you ever think that they will ever do this again?
No, I don't think they would. You had a much more compliant people back then. Now, after learning from this, once again, 10 months after this voluntarily turn in, and I've seen pictures of hundreds of men in line at the Treasury turning in their gold coins. 10 months later, the price of gold went from $20 to $35. This guy's $35,000 in gold was worth like $52,000 or $53,000 10 months later. That was a fortune in those days. That was a lifetime of money. So if they say they're going to ask people to turn in their gold coins, oh, something's coming and they know about it, I don't think they'd have the nerve. And they never confiscated jewelry. You could be wearing big, thick chains and necklaces. They never confiscated gold out, only coins, because I think they knew what was coming. But that's a picture of someone who turned in. Boy, would I love to, as a coin person, wouldn't you love to just gone through those coins? A whole palette of gold coins. And people were turning in $3 gold pieces. They didn't have to. The request was anything that were 5, 10s, and 20s. If you had small denomination coins, you weren't required or asked to return them. No 3s, God help you if you gave in a $4 gold piece. No 1s, no fractional California gold. All of that stuff has a premium above gold now. I mean, you can't buy a $3 gold piece for less than $1,000. And there's only, I don't think there's $500 in it, in gold. But, you know, that was just a touch on that. Here we have an assortment of coins, just to show you once again, with the holidays coming, ethnic reasons, heritage. Here's nice sized, dollar-sized coins we have. I cover all kinds. I got Greek, I got Italian here. I've even got a shooting medal from Germany. But you got Italian, got Greek, got French, nice big $1 size coins. Nice gifts, heritage.
Hold it up a little bit. There we go. Makes it a little easier to see. All different countries, guys. China here.
Be cool to find that in a stocking, and then you can explain to kids their heritage. A lot of French, because I picked up a large collection of French coins. Tremendous amount of French coins I had. Halloween's today, I think Tara made up 150 packets of world coins we put into bags to give to kids for Halloween. A lot of French coins. She says, there's all these French. I said, we picked up thousands of French coins. Coins from all over the world. These are mostly French, nice high-grade stuff.
Great Britain, India.
You get an uncirculated Walker comparable to this, and you've got a coin, $35 for an unk in this. Think of that as a Walking Liberty $50, 1920. Hundreds of dollars. But some pretty coins from all over the world. Here's England. Here's Indochina. A place you don't see every day.
We do have some that are big and certified too, guys. So if you're looking for a certified one, we do have them.
Just giving you a quick recap of some of this. And as I said, we were going to talk about ancients today too. Everything I'm gearing toward the holidays and different things to give the children and talk about with them. Here you have your Roman, your Greek, your Byzantine Empire. The Greek were at their height from about 400 BC up until around 100 BC. Then the Romans pretty much took over. The Romans really admired the Greeks, copied a lot of their you know, their building techniques and such as that. But the Roman Empire was really the coiners of the world. They had 28 mints running, and you could find Roman coins everywhere from northern England all the way to China, all of North Africa, all the way up into the Baltic, into Denmark and stuff. Roman coins circulated everywhere. 28 mints, billions of coins. People ask me, they're always finding more. You know, why do you have so many? Why? Because they made billions of coins. They were the coiners of the world for about 500 years, up until the collapse in 474 AD. And then you have Byzantine coins, which was known as the Eastern Empire. That existed from about 340 BC to 1450 AD, until the Muslims invaded and took out Constantinople and slaughtered everybody, man, woman, and children there. But they were around for over 1,000 years. You had Constantinople, the Eastern Empire. Byzantine coins are popular. They're pretty. I have some gold ones.
Not
Here
for sale.
Not here. We don't have any of them. But what we do have in Byzantine are nice, large ones like this. Over here's some Byzantine. Here's Byzantine.
Your larger style Byzantine.
Big ones. Now, I have a lot of Roman coins. I have lower priced ones. If you want to find something to stick in stockings, something to think about, I mean, I can put 10 of them together, mixed ones. They're going to be smaller ones, and they're not going to be made of silver, but I can give you 10 for 300. We'll pay shipping and everything on it. We have 20, 30, whatever you want. Some of these, but mostly other smaller ones I have. They're not going to be junk. They're going to have depictions on them, but they are going to be real Roman coins. As I said, we have all that. That's what I'm looking for, stuff to fill in for later, for, like I said, for the holidays. Any other questions on this? They keep finding Roman coins because I think the Roman coins were more expensive in the 1960s than they are now. Because I keep telling people, keep asking me, they always find this. Why is it so cheap? It's 2,000 years old. Every time they go with a metal detector all along the Aegean, all the way, you know, you go into Romania and Croatia and all over, they find another earthen jar with 900 silver coins, or a whole field where some merchant was fleeing Rome during one of the invasions, and he buried everything. And they find everything, and thousands of coins. Gold isn't found as much, but Roman gold, Byzantine gold, you're not buying any of that cheap, although it's going to be $1,000 plus. But it's cool. I have not many, maybe a half a dozen. But I got Byzantine, I got Roman, I got Greek. I mean, they're just harder to find. And the most expensive gold, aside from ones that they only made 1,000 here or a couple of hundred there, the usual suspects, your Caesar, Caligula, or Nero. Nero, Caligula gold, very expensive.
The 12 emperors, right?
12 emperors of gold of Rome. I believe I read somewhere there were 89 emperors or 89 rulers, because you had dual rulers. You had Eastern Empire, the Roman Empire. Then you had people would rule parts of the upper Roman Empire, lower, civil wars, everything. 89 emperors, about 1,000 depictions, because they love putting their own face on coins, but they would put down a wife that they strangled 2 years later, or a mother, or a big victory. That was what they put on their coinage. They weren't modest about who they were. When a new emperor would come in some cases, they would pick up all the old coins out there, especially the silver ones, and the blacksmith they would smelt them and melt them, and they would he wanted to get rid of the face of the old emperor, wanted his face, and he would melt all the coins they could put together, and you will see some of the laminations, and the coin got debased, especially the silver, because if they were short a little bit, they'd throw in the broken sword, a couple of horseshoes, whatever it took to get the pot to a certain size. And then, they started with 90% silver, and maybe at one point they're down to 40%. You've also see where they would try to use a silver wash on bronze coins. Be careful, some of them are not silver. They used a wash to make them look like they're silver. And I mean, they were counterfeiting then. But once again, to counterfeit was death in those days. But they had coins like here's this is a cool one. They're not all Roman Empire. You have some from the Arab countries, from all over the place. And in the spirit of, okay, these are Civil War tokens. We were going to do exonumia, which is tokens and odd stuff. Civil War tokens, I've probably sold 600 of these in the last 4 years. These we don't really have in quantity. This is about what I got left from 600. Maybe there's 50 or 60. People who visit us from other countries, they always seem to pick up, they don't pick up ancients because they can find them in their own country. They'll pick up Civil War token. I have those available if you need some. And these were made in the northern states. And they were made because there was a shortage of currency. When you have a war, people bury their jewels, they buried the silver coinage. From the time beginning of the Civil War right until the 1870s. That's why they made fractional paper. You couldn't get small change. Civil War tokens were northern states, and it was sort of like businesses made their own money so they could give you that in change, and you could use it in their store. Sort of almost like a coupon now at Winn-Dixie or Publix or a supermarket in a way. But these were Civil War tokens, very popular, pretty cool. Somewhere here I got a certified, I picked up a hard time token, which is in the same kind of idea. They were 1837. That's when Jackson wanted to put, now here this is unusual, he wanted a tariff on imported goods from England and France. Because we would send our cotton there, the finished product came back, liquors, rum. They wanted a tariff to pay the national debt down. And the robber barons didn't want that. They wanted all the money for themselves. Some of it's similar now, but then they didn't want the government to get anything on anything. And as such, they went to war with the President of the United States. The media slandered him, which sounds familiar, and they imposed their will. They tried to. They actually shut down factories all in New York and Chicago and all the major cities, put people out in the street. People starved to death because they didn't want any tariffs. They wanted all the money for themselves. And that's why it was called a hard time token, because there were hard times. A lot of people out in the street, and you didn't have all the resources to give people then. It's almost like history repeating itself in some places with the politicking. Here are more exonumia. This is railroad tokens, mostly train and railroad. There are 540 of them. They're in alphabetical order from A, right here, all the way. I've also got them from other countries, not in this one. There's 540 pieces. We're looking to get about 1,400.
Nope, that one doesn't have it either. I don't remember where they are. We'll find them.
It's in this one. There it is. Here's ones from other countries that mix in here. Mostly U.S., but there are some other countries. Here's from China. They're from all over the place. These are prices we found on the internet. That's what they go for. A lot of them we never got to price, but there are many of them with prices. I mean, if it averages $5 a coin, you got almost $2,700. We're asking for half of that. I'll pay the charges. We'll pay the fees to ship them and credit card. Let's get together and talk. Nice and big. The snow gets deep up there in the north, and you can play with this in the snowy days. Like I said, it's been very busy. We got a good return on the last video where we showed the 55 double die is gone, the three-legged is gone, the 1909 SVDB is gone. I've got a couple of other pieces left, and we got a new item we picked up. I put this out because I've had people ask for copies of this. I got to run some more copies. This equates the breakdown of what silver is in actual weight.
All right, so from last video, these two are the only ones left, guys.
Yeah.
So if you're interested, that's what's left.
Here I just picked up this. This is a quarter. This is a farthing.
Yeah, hold right there. It's perfect. I got you.
That's a British farthing, which is a quarter of a penny.
Flip it over for me.
A quarter of a penny. Nice brown unk, in great shape. But I have a lot of room on this. We can talk about this. But this is an uncirculated 1861 farthing. That's pretty cool. Here's, we got the 31S, which everybody, pretty much everyone,
Agreed.
90% at least agreed that that's a red, but hey, what are you going to do? And here is the Hawaiian left. Nobody asked about that. Here's a nice error coin. Look at this. Split. Here's you had a planchet that probably had a crack in it. And in time, because this is circulated, you could see, you know, this is about a fine. So this circulated, and somewhere along the line, it finally broke in half. Or somebody helped it along, but it had circulated for a while. And it's hard to find any of these early things, like anything in the Indian had pennies or early, because they had people by hand, mostly women. I've seen pictures of them looking at the coins, and they were looking for mistakes. This stuff we picked up yesterday. These are error bills. These are what they call overprints. Here you have a double fold, two what they call gutters. The paper was folded when it was stamped, so you have these two lines in there. Here you have, there's three printings. You have the front, the back, and then the printing where they put the serial number and the stamp on it.
So it is on the front too, guys.
So what happened, the sheet, the other sheet was put on top of this, and it transferred, the ink was still too wet, and it transferred it. This is very dark. This is unusual.
Yeah, you don't see them that dark.
And here it gets a little lighter, and here you only have a partial, really, or just a very light outline. But they all have a premium. They're pretty cool errors,
right
you know,
there.
overprints. And that's what we, that's basically what we have. We're ready for Halloween here. I brought in some candy and odds and ends. And if kids show up, I got some bags of coins for them. And everybody have a healthy holiday.
Well, first, let them know where you're going to be soon. We got something coming up. So
we have the Coin Club show in 2 weeks. 2 weeks from tomorrow.
1 week.
No, 1 week. You're right.
It's on the 8th.
2 weeks from tomorrow, we will have our next Whatnot on the 15th. But next Saturday, the 8th of November, the Western End of Coin Club is going to have its show at the Joan of Arc Church from 9 in the morning until 3 in the afternoon. I think there's about 50 to 55 tables. It's going to be a nice, well-attended show. I'll be there. My table will be right up front. We'll be there from 9 until 3. I'm going to leave there around 11 because I open up the store. We do too much business in here, and right now things are so hectic. People need resources, and we've picked up a lot of scrap gold. Things are being sold. So I will be at the show until 9. Then Nathan and Tara will take over, and I'll come back to the store. But we'll be at the Western End of Coin Club show on the 8th of November at Joan of Arc Church on Spring Hill Drive. You'll see me there. Come say hello. Any other questions?
No, sir.
That's about it then. Have a great Halloween. Be safe. God bless America, greatest country in the world. Thank you.